Leave it to the Romans. They did at least one thing right. They started the ball rolling when it came to firefighting. If you look back in history, kind of the first recordings of organized groups that were put together to try to put out fires, residential, commercial, whatever, it was the Romans who started that. Of course, why am I talking about firefighting and ancient history? Well, today's soap is Firefighter by Noble Otter. Super excited to try this soap. A lot of reasons. One, it's a Texas soap. I'm from Texas. This is my 4th Texas soap that I'll be using. But also there's a connection there because my father is a retired firefighter from Texas. He had 26 years on with the Lubbock Fire Department, and he's a great guy. I talk to him every single day, and so I'm kind of dedicating today's shave to him. I'll jump ahead and I'll show that I also got the matching Aftershave splash to go along with this. Now I also got my dad the Aftershave as well. I did not get him the soap because, brace yourself folks, he uses an electric razor. You can't knock the guy. The guy was a firefighter. He literally saved people's lives. But yeah, he uses an electric razor. He uses it every single day. Excuse me. He sits and watches on weekdays The Price is Right in his lazy boy, and he kind of runs that electric razor. And then if it's the weekend, he's probably watching college football, or he's a big Indianapolis Colts fan. He grew up watching the Baltimore Colts. He was a big Johnny Unitas fan. But then now he follows the Indianapolis Colts. And they actually play the Packers tomorrow. It's Saturday before the Packers-Colts game. So anxious to see how that turns out. But yeah, so he uses Aftershave, obviously. He uses the electric razor, and then when he gets a chance, he uses Aftershave. He used to use British Sterling. He used that for years. When I smell British Sterling, I think about my dad. And he actually sometimes used to use the cheap blue Bic disposable razors. But like they changed the formula, and that pissed him off. So now I don't even really know what he uses. But I was like, he'll enjoy this. He'll also like the fact that proceeds from Noble Otter's donating the proceeds to firefighter relief. A lot of which is wildfire, which I have some friends that used to fight wildfires back in college. But anyways, yeah, just really, really cool that this goes towards firefighters. As soon as I saw that this was being offered, I had to pick it up. Actually, logged on the moment it was released, and I was probably one of the first people to buy it. I wanted to make sure that I definitely got it. But yeah, interesting that Benjamin Franklin, kind of got the ball rolling in the United States as far as organized firefighting. There's over 1 million firefighters currently in the United States. Over 700,000 of them are volunteers, which is very interesting. So, I don't know, lots of cool firefighter facts. I'll talk more about my dad in a bit, but I'll get to the rest of the shave. I'm using my Razoroc Electric Blue Baby Smooth Razor. I don't use this one very often, so I thought I would bust it out. A flashy razor, and of course, you can't see the ends of the razor blade on either end. It covers that completely. I'm using the Treet Platinum blade in there. This is my favorite blade, and I have not done a video on this blade. So really excited to use that blade. And I've already got the soap pressed down into my Phoenix Artisan Accoutrement Scuttle. I love, love, love this thing. I use it pretty much every single shave. I've got it pressed down there. I've got a little bit of water in there to kind of soften up the soap. And yeah, that's about all I have on that end. Let me go ahead and switch cameras, angles, and I'll do the lather, and then I'll come back and talk more as I lather up. Just hang tight. So I forgot to mention the brush. So I'm using my West Coast Shaving Badger brush. I'll kind of explain here in a minute why I'm using that brush, but I've got it soaking in my Texas mug. I know that like Ken Surfs has his crystal skull. It's kind of a weird angle here because I forgot to mention it. But basically, there's my Texas mug. I've got a Texas mug, and I'll do all my soaking in that mug. So let me get the brush out of that mug and start to lather up here my PAA scuttle. And I absolutely love this thing. It's now November in Wisconsin. It's getting very chilly, especially when I shave in the mornings and whatnot. And it's nice to have warm, rich lather, and this scuttle provides that. I love this thing. So I'll tell a funny story while I'm building this ladder, like a fire ladder, fire truck ladder. Firefighters are notorious for, and I don't want to say hazing, get some of that water in there. I don't want to say hazing each other, but you know, playing pranks on each other and whatnot. And so my dad told me a few of these over the years. And the funniest one I think that he ever told me, and this shows the dedication that firefighters will give to pulling off a prank. Add a little bit more water. So a few years ago, Volkswagen came out with a diesel car that got like really good gas mileage. And Volkswagen's dabbled with diesel engines for many years, but they came out with one that got like 50 or 55 miles to the gallon or something. Of course, diesel prices went way up. But anyways, one of my dad's firefighters got this diesel sedan or car, Volkswagen. And I don't know, like a month in, he comes into the guys and he's like, guys, y'all have to go get one of these diesel cars. He goes, my gas mileage is incredible. He goes, I'm getting hundreds of miles to the gallon. He goes, I gassed up like a month and a half ago or something, and I haven't had to gas up since. And he's like, this is crazy. And so then what he didn't know is the firefighters were all pitching in, and they were adding diesel to his tank every time that he, was in the shower or even asleep or something like that. They were basically adding diesel to his car, giving him a false reading on the gas mileage. So he was like, yeah, y'all got to go get one of these. This is incredible. This has changed my life, right? Just about the time that he got all super happy about that, they started siphoning diesel out of his tank. And they would dump it in one of the other firefighters who probably had a diesel truck or whatever on his shift. Anyways, so he was ready to sell it. Now he's complaining. He's like, I don't know what I did. I don't know what happened. He's like, now this thing's getting horrible gas mileage. I got to sell this stupid thing. Just as he was about to like honestly sell it, they started putting diesel back in again. And that's about the time he realized they were messing with him. So there you go. That's one of the things that firefighters like to do. And I finished that story, and I finished building this lather. Let's put it on the face. Yeah, pretty funny story there. Here's a quick look at that mug that I was talking about. Like I said, kind of like how Ken Surfs has his crystal skull. I'm going to start using my Texas mug. I have a few of these, actually. So that'll be my brush pre-game calling card. Yeah, firefighters. My dad told me so many funny stories about being a firefighter and, the cool things that he got to do. He always described the job as visiting people when they weren't expecting company. And he was like, over the 26 years that he was on the department, he said, I saw some pretty strange stuff. And it's funny, he never discouraged me from being a firefighter, but he never really encouraged it either. He wanted me to maybe use my brain a little bit more. I looked into it. He said if I did do firefighting, I would have to get a degree in firefighting, which it's kind of the standard now. You almost pretty much have to have at least an associate's degree in like firefighting to become a firefighter. But I ended up working for several years. I've mentioned this before, that I worked in media. I worked in television news for several years. So I still kind of had a dangerous job. I was at a lot of police standoffs. I saw a lot of kind of bad things, much like he did over the years as a news photographer. Lots of dead bodies and stuff from car wrecks and shootings and stuff. And he gave me some advice once, and it was like the best advice. He got it from one of his officers. Some of the best advice I've ever gotten. He said, as he was heading to the scene of an accident or a fire or whatever, and he knew it was going to be bad, he would tell himself, you didn't cause this, but when you get to the scene, you're going to do everything you can to make the situation better. And he goes, even if everything went to shit, then at least he knew that he tried, and he knew that he didn't cause it. And that's been some great advice that I've used. It applies for a lot of things in life. And I haven't shaved in like 3 days. So this is going to be... It's doing pretty good. First time I've used this blade with this razor. Get a little bowl of water here for myself. You see this little cut right here? How well can you see that? Maybe better over here. That's from a shavette. And just gotta be careful. My wife was like, it's really close to your eye. Try to be careful. I try to be careful. So yeah. Danny Williams, good guy. Try not to hit the mic there. Sorry. We talk a little bit about the soap. It's Noble Otter. I really like Noble Otter. I've got RAR. I don't know if you can see it back here. So this is the second Noble Otter that I've used. And I find it pretty similar scent-wise. Floral, at least that's what I get, a very floral scent. I think the first thing listed here on Firefighter is grapefruit, and I kind of get that grapefruit. But overall I get kind of a sweet, kind of floral scent. This razor is doing well with this blade. It also does really well with the Astra Green. The Treet Platinum and the Astra Green are my two favorite blades. The hard part is keeping my razor from not getting too clogged up. This brush sheds a ton. Shed for years. It sheds so much that honestly I think in a few years it's going to kind of crap out. There's a big right there. Oh well. It was cheap. I've mentioned before, I've shaved with this brush a couple of times on camera. It was cheap, 20 bucks. Maybe 25. Is everyone staying safe with COVID? I know here in Wisconsin, the numbers are soaring. And some people close to me have tested positive. Everybody's fine, but it's still scary. It's still something you want to avoid. That's all I want to talk about that. But I do hope everybody is staying safe. Yeah, my dad was on the department for 26 years. I'm friends with a lot of his friends. That's how, like I mentioned, the camaraderie. You know, he had friends that I would call upon if I needed things, you know? Truly is a brotherhood. I wanted to use my Badger because this is a Noble Otter. And I mentioned this when I did the RAR review. I'm reading this book series, and it's nerdy and it's medieval, but all the characters are woodland creatures. Mice mostly, and most of the bad guys are rats. But there's otters, there's lots of otters, and there's lots of badgers. It's kind of sad that this badger gave its life. But the book I'm reading has lots of funny otters and funny badgers and stuff. So that's why I wanted to use my badger brush. But yeah, a little citrusy. People describe it as aquatic. I don't know what aquatic means. Put that in the comment maybe. What does an aquatic scent mean? And it says that on the label. But I do like it. I mentioned that I'm shooting this the weekend before Thanksgiving. And like I mentioned, with COVID being as bad as it is, my wife and 2 daughters and I are just going to forego any family gatherings. It's just going to be the 4 of us, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm thankful to have the 3 of them. I'm thankful to be healthy. I'm thankful that we have books and movies and television shows and internet to connect with each other through Zoom and whatnot to get us through the pandemic. Just last week, I did a Zoom, or a Google Hangout rather, with 2 of my buddies, one in Illinois, one in Texas. And with 3 of us, we drank and watched a movie together. We all started it like at the same time. And we just laughed and drank and just had a great time. So I'm thankful for that kind of stuff. Years ago, I went through a bad breakup, and my girlfriend booted me out, and I had to live on my buddy's couch, and it was February. So I just crashed on his couch for like 3 months. And I was thankful to have a roof over my head. I'm thankful that I didn't have to sleep in my car. Or worse, just out in the elements. I don't want to say not a day goes by, but I would say a month doesn't go by that I don't just thank the fact that I have a roof over my head. Interesting bit of trivia. My dad told me when I was considering being a firefighter, he said, if you ever take the test, you're going to get this question. And the question goes like this. You're driving the fire truck, whatever. You get a call. It's called out as a fire. You don't know if it's a fire. You don't know what it is until you get to the scene. But it has been called out as a fire. And you're driving in the fire truck, lights, sirens, everything. And you cause an accident. And it's technically your fault, even though you had the lights and sirens and everything. Somehow you still caused it. And you caused this accident. And there are injuries. There are people that you hit with your fire truck that are injured. But your fire truck doesn't have a ton of damage. And he said, they will ask you, this is on the firefighter test, what is the protocol? Do you stop and render aid? Or do you B, call it in and keep going to your fire? And he goes, everyone gets this wrong. Everyone says, oh, you got to stop and find out if those people are okay. It's not what you do. You call it in, and then if your vehicle, if your fire truck can still drive, you leave the scene of that accident and you drive to the fire that you were supposed to respond to. Because that is your number one responsibility. It makes sense. He's like, if your vehicle can't go, then obviously you can't go. But if your vehicle can still drive, he said, your number one responsibility is to go to that fire because they had the problem first. And then this accident happened. You call it in, a different fire truck or a different fire station or ambulance will respond. But he goes, you leave the scene of that accident and you keep going. Try not to bump my mic. I'm worried I hit my mic a whole bunch. Anyways, just something interesting, guys, if you're ever, or ladies, if you're ever looking to take the firefighter test, don't be surprised if you see that question. Shaking up the aftershave. I really hope he likes this aftershave. Like I said, he's a British Sterling guy, was a British Sterling guy, and then he kind of switched. I don't know what he uses now. I like Noble Otter's aftershaves. They really feel like they hydrate the skin. You saw me giving it a good shake. It's kind of got like, almost like oil, like floating around in there. And I find that you shake it up and then it kind of mixes it all. Okay, there you go. I talked about my dad. I talked about firefighters. I talked about my nerdy books again. I think that'll do it. Thanks so much for watching. What was this? 14th video. Not quite as crazy as my 13th. Go back and watch my 13th video if you want to see, me using like almost every product that I have. Thank you guys so much. Have a happy Thanksgiving and stay safe. And I'll talk to you soon.